Creating a successful retirement is kind of like nailing that perfect dish for a potluck. You need the right ingredients in the right amounts, and most importantly, a good recipe to follow. Joining us today to help us with that recipe for retirement is Gary Mattson and Laurel Steward, the father-daughter team at Mattson Financial Services, our sponsor and expert, and a firm that's been helping people retire in West Michigan for decades. You can also catch them on their popular radio show, Money Mentors. Gary, Laurel, thanks for joining us today. So if you were going to a potluck, what dish could people expect you to bring?
For me, it's family. It's going to be dressing or my mother's green Jell-O salad recipe.
Got to keep that legacy going.
Yeah.
And for me, I would say it's chocolate chip cookies. That's the tried and true. So I worked on that recipe for many, many years.
Yeah.
Lots of taste testing over here.
Wow.
So.
Oh, I'm a hot bean dip that my family loves and everybody loves. So like to have the hot dish.
Love that.
Thrown in there too. So when we are putting together a recipe for retirement, what is everything that goes into it?
I think the main thing that you need to start with is that income base, because a lot of people will come in and, you know, we're going to talk about your dreams, your goals and desires, but how do we make those things happen? And your biggest concern or your fear as a retiree is not running out of money. So we need to stabilize that first and foremost, and then we can look at those other things like the taxes piece, because a lot of people will focus on and say, you know, I don't want to have a conversation with Mattson Financial to talk about retirement. I don't want to retire yet until I have the $1 million.
Yeah.
And that could be good, but what is that $1 million going to do for you? What's that paycheck look like? That's the key piece.
Yeah, we all know that there's sometimes an ingredient that kind of gets overlooked.
Yes.
Because it doesn't seem to be that like shining ingredients, but without it, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, and that's kind of like salt and taxes.
Yeah, I like that. It's very
it's a good one.
perfect.
So it's, you know, everybody's got their own taste to it, and every recipe has its own measurement of that. But if you mess it up and put too much in, you could ruin the whole dish. And that's exactly what can happen in retirement. If you have too much taxes being taken out, it could ruin you for not just today, but tomorrow's future, and you run out of money. So it's one of the things that you can control a little bit at a time or a lot of a time. And we like to actually put the dish together for the client, what they need, and then get that tax piece lowered.
Yeah, healthcare costs are a big concern for retirees. How do you plan for that, especially because as we age and get older, there's a lot of unexpected things that can happen?
When we focus on retirement, that is one of the puzzle pieces that comes along with it. So we definitely talk about, you know, what age are you retiring at? We see a lot of people coming in and retiring pre-65, which means they need some type of gap coverage. And so we're going to look at marketplace, and thankfully, you know, we have an insurance agent in-house. We call him Medicare Matt, so he focuses on Medicare and that marketplace insurance. So we have all these conversations about different clients to see what income levels are here, what kind of premiums would be paid, how does that work for the client, because it truly all works together and needs to communicate, and it takes that burden away from the client to say, hey, is my advisor talking to my agent over here, and I signed up for this policy 5 years ago, but nobody's talked to me about my prescription drug plan coverage, which probably has changed.
Yeah.
And then the practicality piece of that is that most people don't look at it from the same point we do, because we've been through this so many times with clients, and that is when you have somebody going into care. And you may have enough money and do all that type of for the care person, but the person that's getting the care really needs to have a focus on that also. Because the majority of the time, I mean over 50% of the time, that the caregiver goes before the person receiving the care. So we got to make sure that they have enough resources for the caregiver to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, is there a final ingredient that people should not forget about?
I think the biggest thing that I would think about is just true diversification.
I would say risk, same thing.
Because there's two different ways to look at it. It's from the aspect of what are you invested in, right? The different things that are in your portfolio. You want to make sure that that's diversified, more than just stocks and bonds, but also diversification, back to the salt and tax conversation, but diversification by types of money. Is that qualified dollars like your IRA, your 401k? What about tax-free buckets like your Roth? Or non-qualified, where you're gonna, get that interest at the end of the year. So those are different things you should look at, and you should go about with a fiduciary advisor to make sure, am I truly diversified?
And I agree with that 100%, but also the 3 stages of retirement, the go-go, slow-go, and no-go. And you actually invest money and do it differently for each one of those.
All right, so if someone wants to get started on a recipe for retirement, how do they do that?
So you can be one of the first 5 callers if you save $250,000 or more for retirement in your savings, your stocks, 401ks, things like that. We'd love to hear from you, help you put that plan together so you have that successful retirement.
Yeah, we all like that. If you're in or near retirement, get your recipe for retirement together now. Gary, Laurel, and the team will sit down with you personally and review your finances to create a comprehensive, customized plan for your retirement. This is a great opportunity to address taxes, inflation, market volatility, and any other challenge you might face, and then set up the retirement you deserve. Call now to reserve your spot, 800-536-8907. That's 800-536-8907. And so this has been great. It's kind of making me hungry doing all this talk.
Right? Lunch break.
And I'm craving cookies. I don't know what's up for that, but
Next time.
Sounds good. This segment is sponsored by Mattson Financial Services. We'll be right back with more 8 West.